Hello, my name is Winifred Ogadima Isomonu with student ID 77249064, MSc Advanced Computer Science, and today I'll be presenting on the topic evaluating JavaScript client-side frameworks. 98% of websites today already use JavaScript, according to W3 Tech statistics on the percentage of JavaScript usage worldwide. Findings supported by a number of sources claims that the rise in online applications using JavaScript have actually resulted in the introduction of frameworks that help developers create efficient web pages. In order for a dynamic web page to be created, developers can use a variety of tools provided by JavaScript frameworks. Selecting the best framework for a specific project might be difficult due to a wide variety of frameworks already available today. A cross-platform, reusable, and simple to maintain framework can also considerably improve development efficiency. And in addition to that, the performance characteristics of a framework can also contribute to development efficiency by providing decreased load time, leading to better user experiences. Ultimately, the choice of appropriate framework is essential to satisfy a project's needs, as frameworks have become increasingly used in front-end development. These research aims and objectives are as follows. The aim of the study is to carry out a thorough evaluation of two JavaScript client-side frameworks, specifically Vue.js and Svelte, in relation to their effectiveness in facilitating the creation of web applications. The objectives encompass the following. The first objective is carrying out a comprehensive literature review on JavaScript client-side frameworks with a concentration on Vue.js and Svelte. The second objective of this research is to evaluate the frameworks in terms of their performance characteristics, memory use, and bundle size. Also, the third objective is to investigate the quality of support in terms of community engagement, package ecosystem, and lines of code. Lastly, this research will draw findings and make recommendations and conclusions based on these findings. The rationale for this research comes from the desire to understand more of modern web development. Front-end frameworks have evolved into a core component of modern web development, and understanding them is very crucial. This research is driven by the desire to close knowledge gaps in these structures. Even with the plethora of frameworks available, developers still struggle with selecting the best ones for a given project. Studies show that little is known about the aspects that actually drive developers into their selection of a framework. The goal of this study is to provide information about the performance traits and degree of support provided by two modern front-end frameworks, specifically Vue.js and Svelte. The results of this study will increase our understanding of JavaScript frameworks and help programmers choose the best options for their particular projects. This study may help developers of framework also identify shortcomings and potential changes in addition to enhancing the overall development experience. The particular reason for evaluating Vue.js versus Svelte is specifically their different approaches in DOM manipulation, while Vue.js uses a concept called virtual DOM, which is basically keeping a copy of the UI in memory and then syncing it with the real DOM. Svelte uses a different approach. Svelte manipulates the DOM directly, and in addition to that, Svelte transforms the code into JavaScript during build time as opposed to the runtime approach adopted by frameworks like Vue or even React. With respect to the existing literature on JavaScript client-side frameworks, the present studies underscore a significant gap in understanding the factors influencing framework selection. This is mostly due to the expanding array of available frameworks in the industry today. The importance of employing the appropriate metrics for evaluating a framework suitability for a project cannot be overemphasized. This notion is supported in a comparative study suggesting that the evaluation of JavaScript framework should encompass three key dimensions, which is quality, performance, and validation tests. In another study, it was revealed that practitioners are typically guided by three criteria when selecting a JavaScript framework for their specific project needs. The first criteria is sufficiency in documentation. The second criteria is huge community support. And the third criteria is the practicality of the framework's architecture for efficient coding. The study further highlights the integration of software metrics as crucial for meaningful comparisons across various JavaScript frameworks. Also, benchmarking is a very crucial step in evaluating JavaScript client-side frameworks. This benchmarking approach allows for an objective comparison of different frameworks based on their performance, their efficiency, and their overall effectiveness. In another recent study, it was investigated that about the factors that influence modern framework choices. The authors derived key determinants from the survey they carried out with 49 developers, and the primary considerations in framework selection includes the following: popularity of the framework, the learnability of the framework, architecture of the framework, the expertise, the community support, the experience, the documentation, and sponsorship. Regarding this research, in order to comprehensively carry out this evaluation between Vue.js and Svelte, the research methodology adopts a hybrid approach. This is essentially a combination of quantitative and qualitative methodologies. To offer a comprehensive view of the frameworks, this strategy was chosen. By creating and contrasting two identical applications utilizing the different front-end frameworks respectively, primary data is gathered. This primary data is typically numerical data, and it is gathered through the setting up of controlled experiments that employ quantitative performance benchmarking techniques and metrics. In addition to performance benchmarking, this research also evaluates for the bundle sizes of each framework and their memory utilization. Furthermore, secondary data is collected from reputable platforms such as Stack Overflow, GitHub, and npm.js to gain insights into the level of community support of these frameworks. In terms of community support, we are looking at the level of engagement on Stack Overflow, the number of questions asked. For GitHub, we are looking at the number of stars and forks on each repository. And for npm.js, we are looking at the number of dependencies each framework has, the number of dependents, the versions, and the weekly downloads. Also, we are also going to be evaluating the lines of code. Some ethical considerations before embarking on this research. In order to ensure that the research was conducted to high standards, it addressed a number of ethical issues. Utmost consideration was given to ensure privacy and anonymity when collecting data from online communities. In addition, with a dedication to safeguarding intellectual property rights, academic standards were followed in properly citing and referencing the information's original authors and sources. The evaluation findings were presented objectively without any attempt to sway or mislead decision makers. Through the evaluation of ethical issues, the research upheld essential values such as integrity, confidentiality, appropriate data management, and transparency. In building the application, a movie streaming platform, a movie streaming platform was created. Below is a flowchart of how the application works. When a user visits the page, it calls an API to the TMDB database, which in turn returns a list of movies, usually a big JSON object, and it populates the page with these movies. And this is typically the behavior when any other route is visited on the page. The outcome of this research are as follows. The comparison of Vue and Svelte revealed that they both have unique strengths and advantages. Svelte stood out in terms of performance. It surpassed Vue in tests, using tools like Google Lighthouse, GTmetrix, and web page tests. Several iterations were carried out, and several metrics were looked out for, such as first contentful paint, last contentful paint, speed index, total blocking time, and more. Svelte consistently performed better with faster loading rates and response times than Vue, which could indicate a significantly better user experience in real world. Also, using the Google Lighthouse, this research evaluated for different scenarios such as the app running locally, the app running on production level, of which the app was deployed on Netlify, a CI/CD deployment platform, and lastly, the app running on mobile. Below is a chart of the Lighthouse evaluation. The blue represents mobile, the red represents production, and the gray represents the blue represents local, the red represents production, and the gray represents mobile. For local, Vue.js had an average score of all 7 iterations, an average score of 67.6 Lighthouse performance score, and Svelte had an average of 75.9, as we can see here. For production level, Vue had an average Lighthouse performance score of 71.6, and Svelte had an average Lighthouse performance score of 73.1. And lastly, for mobile, Vue had an average Lighthouse performance score of 50.1, and Svelte had an average Lighthouse performance mobile score of 51.6. Svelte also displayed lower memory consumption, smaller bundle sizes, and faster build time. In terms of lines of code, Svelte had fewer lines of code in comparison to Vue. On the other side, Vue.js displayed strength in terms of the presence of a stronger community support. It displayed a significant presence on Stack Overflow with higher numbers of questions asked. Additionally, Vue received more GitHub stars and forks, demonstrating a thriving and active development community, and a higher number of dependents and weekly downloads on npm.js. Still on npm.js, Svelte displayed more number of dependencies and higher number of versions. And this could indicate a concentration on more specialized features within the Svelte framework. With the higher number of versions compared to Vue, this could also indicate a fast rate of development and innovation. In conclusion, the research found out that both Vue and Svelte framework have different advantages. Svelte outperformed Vue in terms of performance measures, providing quicker and more responsive user interfaces. This indicates that it is a strong contender for efficient development due to its resource efficiency in terms of memory usage, smaller lines of code, and bundle size. On the other hand, Vue stands out for having a stronger community. This shows a thriving development ecosystem, which is crucial in selecting a framework. Vue has a significant community presence as seen by its engagement on Stack Overflow and number of stars and forks on GitHub. Ultimately, the decision between Vue and Svelte should be made in accordance with the requirements of the specific project, taking into account aspects such as performance, community support, and development approach. Thank you.